This is TWIS, This Week in Science, episode number 478, recorded on Thursday, August 27th, 2014. Hi, everybody. I'm Blair Bazdarich, and today we're going to be talking about spiders, pandas, doctors, fish, all sorts of cool stuff. But first...
Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. If you are tuning into this program right at this moment, right now, you are doing so out of your own free will. Once the show is over, you can think back to how you chose to tune in, but it will no longer be able to be chosen. It will be something that is set in time. The past has been determined. The lives of every person throughout history lived and died in such a way that looking back, we could come to the conclusion that life is deterministic. From beginning to end, their activities are locked away in time. Since there is only one future ahead of us, why should it be any less determined than the past? But there is one perspective that makes free will a driving force in all future and past considerations of determinism: the now. That moment in which you can do, that moment in which action is possible and free will reigns supreme, where we can take action and forge a more favorable future for ourselves. And what possible actions can affect the future? The action of applied knowledge. Not just any knowledge, but the only knowledge that has ever existed. The only knowledge that is even possible in the now. Knowledge of the past. With this ability to look backwards through time and see events unfold, to have recorded histories of information upon every available subject. This and nothing else is the source of our free will, the tool we use to plot the course of possible futures. And this, as always, is the main subject of tonight's free will empowering episode of This Week in Science. Coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind that can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science to you, Blair.
Good science to you, Justin. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of This Week in Science. You may notice no Dr. Kiki. She's off having a great time at Burning Man. But meanwhile, we still have so much science and a great show ahead. So let's see. I have news stories this week about lots of animal stuff, naturally. I brought a couple other things, but I have some fish, I have some spiders, I have some pandas, I have the root of human morals, and maybe a little bit of insight on depression. That's what I have. What do you have, Justin?
I've got dinosaurs watching the kids, baby talk, fishy walks, a new genetic discovery that links to every living creature on the Earth, and possibly how electrifying your brain makes you remember things better. There's a couple other stories that might sneak in by the end of it.
Nice. Well, let's get right into it. Justin, do you want to start us off with one?
Sure. So this is from the University of Pennsylvania. They found during an examination of a rock slab containing fossils of 24 very young dinosaurs and one older individual is suggesting something that they haven't seen before in the fossil records. That is a group of hatchling dinosaurs being raised not by a parent, but by a caretaker. And the reason they're assuming this is they've seen this particular dinosaur enough to know the maturity stages, and this doesn't look like it would be of an age which it would be having eggs and hatchlings and such. So they're thinking this is likely not not necessarily that it's not related, but not the actual parent, not the actual dropper of the eggs. They came about upon the fossils. They're considered to be about 120 million years old. and this is a formation in northeastern China. The specimen is about 2 feet across, contains fossils from 25 creatures. All of the species are unpronounceable.
That sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, Psittacosaurus. They're plant eaters, and they're among the most abundant dinosaur yet found. The specimen previously been described only briefly back in 2004, but there was more to see there, and when they did a little bit more of a drill down, they found some interesting information. The 24 younger animals are much smaller, quite small in size, or actually are quite similar in size to each other, but much smaller than the one larger. They considered whether they might have been embryos still in their eggs even. They were so small. But some other observations suggest they may have already hatched. Beginning, they say there was no evidence of eggshell material, although they had identified smaller individuals. Finally, the ends of the bones that they were sort of telltales of development showed that they were capable of moving around. So they finally determined these had been hatched. The larger skull was in the same layer of rock as the 24 smaller animals, and 2 of the smaller, actually the skulls had gotten intertwined with the skull, so they were in the very same close space when death came, right? But yeah, given the close association with the older individual, they believe the specimen may offer evidence of post-hatchling cooperation, a behavior exhibited by some species of modern-day birds. The older juvenile may well have been a big brother or sister helping care for its younger siblings.
Aww.
Right? So, yeah, dinosaurs loved their children too. People.
Yeah, and I'm gonna take a stab at this dinosaur name. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Psittacosaurus lugiatunensis.
Oh, I like tuna.
Yeah. So pretty interesting. I like that. It's something we see in birds too. So
Right.
It's something that again is kind of hearkening back to the fact that dinosaurs and birds are not that different.
And you'll see it in mammals too. I mean, wolves will do that. Wolves have a pack where, the alpha male and female will go join a hunt and leave sort of younger family members of the pack to be back and sort of watch for the young ones.
Yeah, one of my favorite dinosaur-like birds out there, the ostrich. I love this. There's always a dominant female, and there's a communal nest. So all of the females lay their eggs in the same nest, and the dominant female always gets her eggs laid in the middle, and she'll actually kick the eggs of other females out to the fringes, and that way the eggs in the middle, they get the best temperature, so they have the best chance to grow, but also they're least likely to get picked off by predators. So this adult female, this mature and dominant female, her eggs get the best care out of all of the eggs in the nest.
Wow.
So ostriches are pretty dinosaur-like too, so I'm not that surprised. Have you ever seen an ostrich foot? Looks a lot like a dinosaur foot.
And they are, along with chickens, the most closely related, based off of the genetic evidence we have of T-Rex, to ancient dinosaurs. It came back. The closest living creatures to the T-Rex was ostrich and chicken.
Well, there you go.
Now there could be other birds that may be even closer, but they don't. We might not have their genetic evidence their genetic code to compare it to yet.
Right. Right. Awesome. Well, actually, I have the perfect story to kind of segue from that.
Yeah.
And that's about the roots of altruism. And with that, I like to think about it kind of like the root of morals. So when someone is trying to tell me that humans are special as compared to other species, I think that's definitely true. There's a lot about us that's special, but a lot of the time people, when they're trying to discount evolution, they bring in morals, what humans consider morals, right? But a lot of what makes a moral person would be evolutionarily advantageous. And a lot of that boils down to altruistic behavior. Altruistic behavior is behavior that benefits another individual and does not benefit yourself. That's altruism. So that would be me giving $1 to somebody on the street, or helping an old lady cross the street if she's not related to me. These are all altruistic behaviors. So that has no direct benefit to me, especially if I'm not getting credit for it. But so there have been studies, lots of studies done with altruism in primates, and they looked at Callitrichidae, which are tamarins and marmosets. If you don't know what tamarins or marmosets are, I suggest you Google them. They're adorable. They're teeny tiny monkeys, and they have pretty complex social structure. One thing in particular that's very interesting about them is with most tamarins, the males care for the young. They carry the young around, and then the females just grab them when it's time for them to feed, and then the males take care of them again. But within that, it looks like they also have some cooperative care for their young. And so there's this kind of what they would consider spontaneous helping behavior. And so they wanted to look at what other primate species did in that regard, and they didn't have a lot of comparable data. So they wanted to look closer into that. And researchers from Switzerland, Germany, Austria, Italy, and Great Britain all looked into this to try to figure out altruistic behavior in different primates. And they came up with what they considered a new paradigm of group service so that they could see spontaneous helping behavior in a standardized fashion. So they had a simple test where they looked at when the primate species were prepared to provide other group members of the treat, even if that meant that they weren't getting a treat themselves. And they found that some primate species did this and not others, and it had nothing to do with how close they were to humans evolutionarily. And the way the test worked is there was this lever, kind of like a seesaw, and they were able to put a treat on one end of this board that was on a pivot. And the handle, there was a handle that attached to the board, and it attached so far from the food that the individual operating the handle couldn't get to the food themselves. And the second they let go, the board would go back into place, and the food would go out of reach again. So even if they tried to push it down to get the food to them, they couldn't get it. But then if they pushed it the other way, they were able to have food trickle down and get to the other animals nearby. And they found some species were very good at this, like the caltrichids, and others were not. And they were kind of looking at it based on cognitive skills. They were looking at it based on all sorts of things. They were looking specifically at what they consider to be human characteristics: advanced cognitive skills, large brains, high social tolerance, collective foraging, pair bonds, any of these things. None of these factors reliably predicts whether a primate species will be altruistic spontaneously. The factor that sets us apart from the other great apes, which is when young are cared for by more than just the mother, that seems to be the indicator. So most of the great apes don't do that, but again, the tamarins and marmosets, the caltrichids, do, and they were able to demonstrate that altruistic behavior. So it's not a strictly human thing. It's not a strictly great ape thing. Some animals do it. Some animals don't.
Yeah. E. coli does it.
Oh?
Yeah, E. coli. If an E. coli colony is in a poor resource environment, where there's not as much of the nutrients that the colony needs to survive, the E. coli on the outside of the colony will push nutrients towards the center without taking any, even to the point of starvation. They'll continue to pass nutrients into the center hub of the colony at their own expense. So,
yeah, well,
altruism, if anything, perhaps the the ape is more evolved than us in that it abandoned altruism and it
Right.
stuck. We never learned out of it. They've evolved beyond. They've learned selfishness to a greater degree than we have, if that's even possible.
That's an interesting way to put it, for sure.
Mamas, first of all, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. Secondly, when your babies talk, you should listen to them. It shows that there was a survey that studied mothers in interacting with babbling infants, and it found that infants whose babble got the attention of mom more often learned to speak quicker, gained more words. Babies, basically what the study is sort of getting at is babies more quickly understood that their babbling was a form of communication and began to work on it and manipulate it and focus on it harder than babies whose babbling went rather unnoticed.
Interesting. Yeah. Listen to your baby. They know when you're not paying attention.
They know. Mm-hmm. We got an amazing ancestry story here. You were talking about the creationists, and I was sort of looking at this as like maybe an aha sort of thing that you could point to. So at some point on this planet, there were fish. Well, there still are fish. But there was a day when there were fish, but there was nothing walking upon the land.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no mammals anyway. There were probably insects already walking on the land, but there was no fish descendants walking. It gets complicated. You had to have been there to really know what was going on.
Were you there, Justin?
No. Well, I visited once, but I don't remember.
In your time machine.
Okay. This is interesting. They wanted to study the first fish that walked on the land. And I said, well, we've got some fossils and everything, but it's really kind of hard to tell sort of how they maneuvered around. And then somebody at some point went, what about Polypterus?
Yes, I wrote this story. I'm so excited we get to talk about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Polypterus, yeah.
Polypterus. Oh, did you also bring the same story?
That's fine. I want to talk all about it. Let's get into it.
Okay. Well, let's talk about it because this is fascinating. So they pointed to, hey, look, we don't have to just study the fossil record. Mm-hmm. There's a fish in Africa that breathes air and walks upon the land with fins.
Yeah.
To which my internal creationist immediately said, well, that's not proof of evolution. That proves that the fossil record is just this fish in the past. Don't, see, you can't. They've always been, it's not a transitional species. Fish have always breathed air and walked upon the land. Oh, you got video. Say something.
I have video, yeah. So really, it's just the species that lives in an area where sometimes they need to be able to walk on the land. They also need to be able to breathe air because the oxygen content in the water is not high enough. In the rainforest, there's not a lot of oxygen in the water. There's also dry seasons and wet seasons, and sometimes the water is very low. And so this animal might need to be able to jump out of the water in order to, that's a mud skipper, by the way, on the screen now. That's another animal that's really good at walking on land and in the water. But they need to be able to get out of the water so that they can, one, get their oxygen, and two, when they're stranded, they can move into another moist area if it dries out where they are. So these animals, they do exist in that fashion. What they did for this study, though, that's really unusual, if I can jump in about that, is that they raised these animals from when they were little fries outside in a moist but terrestrial environment. And so they saw how physiologically and behaviorally these fish were different than ones that were raised in the water. And they did find a lot of differences, which is pretty cool. One thing is they definitely walked more methodically. It's very hard for us to see when we're not a fish biologist, we're not an ichthyologist, but they raised up their head higher when they moved, so they were bunking their head around a little bit less. They were able to get more traction on their front fins, and they were able to walk a little bit more deliberately. So they definitely did have an advantage walking on land to their brothers and sisters that were raised in the water.
Yeah, that says Trina Dew, McGill PhD student and study collaborator. Anatomically, their pectoral skeleton changed to become more elongated with stronger attachments across their chest, possibly to increase support during walking, and a reduced contact with the skull to potentially allow greater head-neck motion. Wow. I mean, this is some pretty malleable genetics to allow these changes to show up this quickly.
Right. So you can see here, I'm screen sharing again, you can see the bones that they're talking about and how they're a little bit larger. And this is where it gets really interesting, is looking at the fossil record. If you look at animals that were also transitional, they also had strengthened bones in those places. Like one of my favorites, Acanthostega, that's on the screen right now. He was kind of the first amphibian. They also had the strengthened bones in their jaw. So they definitely had similarities. And I think that what's so interesting is when the idea of evolution first came about, there was Darwin, who thought it had to do totally with genetics, and there was this guy, Lamarck, who thought that a giraffe living in an area where the food was higher up would, over its lifetime, end up with a longer neck. And for many years, Lamarck's looked at like somebody who was just mistaken.
Unless you were this guy.
Yeah, and it turns out, as many things are, it's a little bit of both. Yeah. It's not just the genetics. It's not just the environment, but both things have a huge effect. So it's nature and nurture once again. So I think that it's important to remember, because you can have all this random chance that gives you a weird mutation that makes you more fit in your environment, and that is a huge mechanism for evolution. But you can also have pressures externally that can change you in a lifetime.
Yeah. And well, you know, and the other thing too is random mutation is actually finding less and less ground as epigenetics becomes more and more understood. Because we see random mutations take place that don't really seem to affect a whole lot. They don't have big sweeping changes take place through random genetic mutations. They seem to go by almost unnoticed, and they may sort of evolve into other things a little bit. I mean, and I'm talking about something along the lines of the Spud McKenzie dogs. I can't. Is it bull, mastiff, some kind of bulldog, whatever?
It's
Spud
a bull
McKenzie.
terrier.
Huh?
Bull terrier.
Bull terrier. Thank you. The bull terriers tend to be really OCD, and it's connected to, you know, the manipulation through breeding that gave them that really elongated snout is also somehow connected to an area of the brain that makes them much more likely to be OCD dogs that will chase their tails until they die or go unconscious, right? So there's, you know, and then is that a random mutation, or is that epigenetics bringing out something that was closely related in the gene stream? So still, we got to figure out a lot more about that. But it does seem that, like, epigenetics and actual pressures and the new things that we're learning about genetic memory and how that can affect things down the life stream and experiences in one life can affect future generations, whether or not they use their genes in one way or another. There's still a lot of evolution learning out ahead of us.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's all these bits of research also where they have electric shocks on a rat, and then there's the electric shock is preceded by a...
later, they still remember.
Yeah, they remember it.
What they were supposed to be afraid of. That's phenomenal. I was just, yeah.
There's so many... I think it's so hard for people to understand this kind of long-scale evolution, because it doesn't seem like it can be boiled down to such a simple concept as mutation and selection. And that's because there are so many different kind of catalysts at play. There's so much going on that you can't boil it down to one little mechanism. And that's the only way that this crazy biodiversity that we have is possible, is with all these different things creating these opportunities and kind of pushing and pulling and the adaptation happening in all these different ways. I think it's fantastic.
But the more we change, Blair, the more we stay the same.
Uh-huh.
Because all these changes that accumulate and these mutations that happen, these epigenetic influences, all this stuff that takes place, well, some things don't change very much at all. This is a study out of the Center of Genomic Regulation. I don't know if it's a study out of there or they're reporting on it, actually. But based on they were looking at common molecular mechanisms in genetic traits that are contained both within human, fly, and worm. Right? Three species that they've got pretty well drilled down on genetically. Especially, they probably know worms and flies much better than they understand people's genetic code at this point. But basically, what they found is this is pretty wild. There are mechanisms within the genetic code that do certain functions, almost independent of what organism it is in. The same genetic code is found and is essential at the developmental stages, sort of embryonic stages of life, that sort of development that sets you off the path to becoming what you become. They compared transcriptome RNA complements of different animal species. They used data from two big research consortia, Encyclopedia of DNA Elements and Code, which gathers information about human functional elements, and the Model Organism ENCODE, which has the corresponding information about the fly and the worm. As a result, they have determined sets of genes that are likely to work together independently of the organism in which they are found and must therefore be essential for the entire animal kingdom. That's all of animal kind. The quote here from Dr. Jabali: "The paper is important since it is the first time such distant species have been compared in such an accurate manner." Sarah goes on to say, "These findings give us a map of highly important regions of the genome that will guide the scientific community in future research projects related to cell biology and extension to disease." Well, they're focused on disease. But it's also going to be exceedingly important in understanding origin. Right? So that's, with all of the biodiversity to think, and it's kind of weird because when I sort of heard this, I almost thought of it as, in a weird way, its own species. Right? If you have this distinctly similar grouping of genes, right? Because we are, like, you could define a species by its collection of genes. Its full complement. That is the species. But if you can take a set amount of DNA out of every living thing, and it's identical to every living thing, it has its own twin in every living thing. It's sort of like having that core species within a species, right? It's like this is the life form. Everything else is sort of like, oh, well, you've got this many limbs. Oh, you have that size ears. Whatever. At that point, it doesn't matter. Those are just little. You've got freckles. I've got a mole. Whatever. Those are everything else. All of speciation is just variations on the core life form that everything shares.
I understand what you're trying to say, but I think those are kind of apples and oranges. So
right, which are both round, they're both edible, they both grow on trees, right? They both have seeds. They're actually almost, compared to anything else you compare an apple and orange to, they're almost identical.
Yeah, but what you're saying is,
and I bet genomically they're almost identical.
What you're saying is, we have found that pretty much all of Animalia
Mm-hmm.
has this key thing in common.
Mm-hmm.
But all that's telling us is we classified them, right? Like, yeah,
right.
it was right. It was a good call to, clump all these things together and call them all animals. So this, if anything else, it just helps us classify future things. Is this an animal? Is it not an animal? Does it have these sequences? Does it have these genes in them? And then within that, the way those genes are expressed, that helps us categorize into all of these different things, into families, into orders, into genus, into species. All of these things are the way those genes are expressed. So I think that, again, it comes down to what is important to us, we who love to categorize, right? We who love to compartmentalize. So if it's important for us to identify all these different similarities and differences, which I think it is, it helps us understand those animals, it helps us understand their ecology, it helps us understand their life history, it helps us understand their evolutionary history. But in order to do that, there's all these great kind of genetic keys that help us figure that out, and that's part of what scientists are always looking for, is how can we classify these animals?
Absolutely, and this is exactly what I'm saying too. If we can find, though, amongst all animal kingdomness, a set grouping of genetic code that through all the trials and tribulations of being a life form has remained intact, is doing the same operation, is existent in everything, is not that it can't mutate or change, but that obviously if it does, it fails. This system fails. This becomes life. Mm-hmm. This becomes animal life, at least in this
animal life, respect.
Yeah. Animal life.
Totally.
So then this is also the path to creating life. Anything you create going forward must essentially start with this platform. If you were to create synthetic life for a new animal, let's create a new animal, right?
Yeah.
To live on a distant planet, or to tailor it to be able, whatever it is, in the future of repopulating the planet with animals that can survive in the new climates that are to come, whatever it is. This is the building block. This is the this here is life, and then it can do this. This is how it can survive. It can have this kind of system, that kind of system, rely on all these extras, but this would be the core. This would be at the heart of what is life. And before we go any further into the animal kingdom, I think it's probably time to go to the corner.
Well, actually, it's time for a break, so I think we should take a break.
Corner after the break this week?
Yeah, we're going to do the corner after the break this week. I mean, we've dabbled in the corner all day so far.
I don't think we left the corner at all.
We've been hanging out next to the corner. We've been all over the corner today. So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to jump head first into the corner. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Great. So if you are just turning in, you're listening to This Week in Science. I'm Blair, and I'm here with Justin. And we're going to take a quick break, so stay tuned, and we'll be back in a little bit. Audible.com is the leading provider of audiobooks with over 150,000 different titles in a wide variety of genres. TWIS has found many science-based books in the Audible library. You can start a free trial today and get any audiobook download for free and support TWIS at the same time. How, you ask? Well, all you have to do is sign up at audiblepodcast.com/TWIS. That's audiblepodcast.com/TWIS. Go there now for your free download. TWIS also has merchandise you might enjoy. Head over to twis.org, that's TWIS.org, to buy some of our swag. We now have a link on our website that goes directly to our Zazzle store. There's so much stuff over there. You can go to TWIS.org, click on the Zazzle store link in the menu bar, and start buying now. You can pick, maybe I want a hat, maybe I want a mug, and then you can decide exactly what kind of hat or mug or shirt you want with our TWIS logo on it. It's pretty awesome, so I'd suggest you go over there and you try it out. Go to TWIS.org and click on the Zazzle button, the Zazzle store link, and check all of that out. TWIS is supported by listeners like you. Yes, you. Your donation pays for our hosting, bandwidth, contractors we need to hire, and fun things we try to do for the show. We appreciate any amount. It could be $1, $2, $5, $10, $100. You make this show possible. We currently accept donations a few different ways. First, we have PayPal donation buttons all over our show page on our website, TWIS.org, or we started a Patreon account, patreon.com/thisweekinscience. That's patreon.com/thisweekinscience. It's kind of like Kickstarter for media producers. You can get stuff in return for your donation, and you can help us every week bring this show to you guys. So whichever your preference is, go to the website, listen to the most recent episode, comment on our show, and make a donation. Can't afford a donation? Well, there's still stuff you can do to help TWIS. We can always use your help to get more people listening to and watching This Week in Science. We want to grow. We want everyone to hear all about This Week in Science. Use your social networks for science and tell people to tune into TWIS. We thank you for your support, and we couldn't do it without you.
Explain the things you heard with more than intuition. The line of reason shows the way to go. No conclusion. The methods of hypothesis and patience are the only things I need. Put on a pair of goggles and go looking for the things I couldn't see. Lie somewhere within this scattered plot. Our first assumptions were correct. Disprove the rest. It's hard. The method of hypothesis and patience are the only things I need.
And we're back with more This Week in Science.
That's right. Are you ready for it, Justin?
I'm ready for the Animal Corner. Bring it, Blair.
All right, hold on.
She loves our creatures, great and small. Biped, millipede, no pet at all. You wanna hear about animals? She's your girl. Except for giant pandas and squirrels that are no closer.
That was fun.
Blair.
All right. I feel weird playing my own theme music.
No. This is ask somebody else to hit the button. Doesn't mean it's not your theme song.
All right, okay. So let's get right into the pandas, shall we?
Bring it.
Yeah. So this is crazy. Panda fakes pregnancy to get more food.
Huh?
So at the Chengdu Giant Panda Breeding Research Center in China, they had to call off a live broadcast that was supposed to feature their 6-year-old Ai Hin giving birth because they discovered that she wasn't actually pregnant.
Oh, no.
So, yeah.
Oh, no. She's just constipated?
Well, let me
What a
tell you
horrible
about.
broadcast that would have been.
Let me tell you a little bit more about pandas. So.
They can wait. Okay, so they can be pregnant for like forever, right?
No.
Oh.
So first of all, they hit the kind of, I guess, panda puberty around 4 to 5 years old. That's when they can start mating. And as you know, pandas aren't the easiest to get in that process. So they go into estrus and they're available for mating, the females, for 3 days each spring, and they only mate every 2 to 3 years. And they have 1 to 2 cubs at once, but only one baby will receive care. The other one is left to die. So within that, it's such a kind of delicate thing, pandas, that when you think a panda is pregnant, kind of all other priorities are lost. The facility that's taking care of this pregnant panda, that becomes a big priority. Whatever the panda wants, the panda gets. And so this panda, Ai-hin, started demonstrating behaviors that she was pregnant. She was moved to a private air-conditioned room. She got care around the clock. She was given better food. She was given fruit. She was given buns. And she was given bamboo.
Dude, I'm going to pretend I'm pregnant.
Yeah. So
this sounds like the life right here.
Their gestation period is only... excuse me, is only about, I'm allergic to pandas, there's only about 90 to 160 days. Then the panda embryos are so tiny that you can't see them via ultrasound. You can't use hormones to indicate whether the panda is pregnant or not, and so basically you wait until she starts acting pregnant, and then you just kind of wait and see if she gives birth. And usually at some point, the panda just stops acting pregnant if they're not pregnant. And they found that some pandas, including Ai-hin, will take advantage of the extra care and the extra food if they are being treated as such, and they will continue to act pregnant.
Wow.
So this is what happens.
As Beef in the chat room states, just more proof pandas are lazy con artists.
So, okay, yes. So people are now calling pandas stupid because of this. I would actually say it's the exact opposite.
Oh, it's clever.
They are so smart. And
Yeah.
You're going to hear me giving pandas credit now. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I think it's annoying. That first of all, these pandas get all of these resources and attention because they can't have babies because they're useless in terms of their reproductive abilities. But on top of that, now they've figured out how to manipulate that. But I have to give them credit. It's not for the dumb figuring out how to manipulate humans into giving you buns and fruit. So it's kind of a smart panda.
I'm still wondering if they're giving him the right bamboo, because didn't we just learn that bamboos won't like turn on the pregnancy hormones until they're pregnant, but they won't go into gestation?
Justin, this is what we need to do.
Right kind of bamboo.
We need to go to China. We need to take a botanist with us who knows about all the different types of bamboo. We need to smuggle in some estrusy bamboo into a panda research center and see what happens.
Because I think that pandas, it's probably really easy to get pandas to reproduce. But the Chinese zookeepers, in their wisdom, realized that if it's pandas plenty, if it's pandas everywhere, everywhere you go there's a panda. Every zoo has a panda. Every pandas all over the place.
They won't get their $1 million a panda.
They lose there's no value in panda anymore.
Yeah.
This whole panda industry would crumble overnight if there were plentiful pandas. I think this is all a ruse to keep the panda levels low. It's conspiracy.
Interesting. So the only way to find out is for us to go to China
with the right kind of bamboo at the right moment. Huck it over the wall of the panda exhibit.
Hand feed. I am only doing this if I get to hand feed a panda.
That would be kind of weird. I wouldn't want to hand feed a panda. It's a bear.
Nah.
It's a bear.
What's a panda gonna do to me?
You know what? I don't know. If they're as smart as I think they might be now, they might have listened to the show.
They're actually, I eat meat.
We don't normally attack humans, but Blair has it coming.
Yeah. Squirrels, get her! All right, so so moving from the cute to the creepy, let's talk about spiders, shall we? It wouldn't be TWIS without some spiders. So I tweeted about a pretty creepy spider story about toad-eating and frog-eating spiders earlier this week, but that's not what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about spider social niche specialization. So, a team of researchers from University of Pittsburgh found evidence of social niche specialization in a species of social spiders. They experimented with 84 artificially created colonies of spiders, and they looked at spider behavior. So social niche specialization is a theory of animal behavior where individual behavior within a social group is variable. So the more social individual members, the more kind of individual they are, and the more they're together, the more their differences emerge. So basically, within a social structure, if the social structure functions well and everybody gets to know each other, they're like, oh, hey, Bob's the best at catching flies, and Charlotte, she's the best at making the web. See what I did there? And then, so they figure that stuff out, and they're allowed to go do their own special task if they figure this out. And the groups with member niches are stronger and more organized because everybody gets to play to their strengths. So they looked at this one spider species, Stegodipus dumicola, and it's native to the Kalahari, this social spider. They created 84 web colonies, and they allowed time for acclimation. And then, a little bit later, the colonies were disturbed. This caused the need to recreate the structure that bound them together, and so some of the groups of spiders were allowed to stay together with their initial social strata intact still, and other groups were separated and interspersed. They were torn away from their friends and family. And watching how the two different types of colonies emerged, they found that in fact, the social niche specialization was happening. Spiders in the colonies that were still together with their initial groups, they were bolder, and that's what indicated the stronger social structure. How do you test spider boldness? Can you guess, Justin?
Do you poke it with a stick? I don't know.
You're so close. You're so close. They blow a puff of air at individual spiders, which causes them to freeze, and they stay in place as a protective measure, kind of hold on from this puff of air. And then they measured how long it took them to resume activity. The faster they resumed activity, the more bold they were, the more comfortable they were going on with their task. And so on average, spiders that had to start a new life with a new social strata, with stranger spiders, they were shyer, they were less bold than those that still had their kind of solid, known social structure. So that what they kind of extrapolate from that is that each of them found their own strengths. And what they also found was that the spiders that stayed in their original colony, they showed more consistency in the things that they did. So they were seeing that these spiders were specializing. But they also showed more difference from one another. So they were kind of in the other situations where they were dispersed, everybody did a little bit of everything, and maybe somebody did a little bit more of web building, and somebody did a little bit more of catching flies and all this kind of stuff, right? So, but in the undisturbed social strata, they specialized way more. They left the thing that somebody else was better at to them. So spiders, they're pretty smart, and they can definitely work together.
So,
You're welcome.
The question I get is it spider observation of the behavior of other spiders that prompts them to, well, somebody's already doing that. Guess I don't need to. I got a list in my head genetically of what needs being done and what doesn't. I see it's being done over there. I don't need that. Let me go look for something else to do. Or is there a form of spider communication taking place? Spiders talk.
I am not at liberty to say. Like, I don't know.
Like you've been sworn to secrecy by some sort of spider
spiders
cult?
don't want me to tell you. It's a secret.
The Spider Society to which I belong.
So the spiders at night, they come and tell me.
Too much into the details of actual ongoing spider activity.
And they're like, make up this study, and you can tell some people some stuff about us just to keep us feared. No, I would say that we don't know for sure. There haven't been studies on this, but I would guess that it has to do with observation.
Because here's the thing. This takes place in bacteria too, right? You have colonies of bacteria. Again, we'll go back to E. coli, that together as a colony will produce molecules that are used by the colony that don't get produced by any individuals. They sort of work together, creating little bacteria factories to create new molecules that they can do stuff with that aren't present when single or small groups of bacteria are just out exploring or, stuck away from a larger colony. And so how this larger colony, whether it's bacteria or spiders, in humans we assume it's because we can talk. It's because we have a spoken language or a written language. But even before that, we somehow managed to survive. And what was that level of communication that took place to allow us to work together? It's really interesting. And part of it, I think, has to be some form of a genetic memory for a spider to have a checklist in its head of prioritized things that a spider should be doing today. And when the spider wakes up that morning, assuming spiders sleep, I actually don't know if spiders sleep.
Yeah.
I have no idea. They rest. Everything rests, right?
Yeah.
As a spider dreams of a big fly landing in the web and then wakes up the next morning, I got to go on my spidery way. What does a spider do? How do I know? I'm just a spider. I've got the brain the size of a spider's brain. I don't know anything. Oh, but I have this checklist. I have a checklist in my brain that's telling me that here's a list of things to do today. And as I go out into the web, I see, oh, cousin spider over there is already doing it. Sister spider over there is working on that project. Cross that one off. Here's one nobody's doing. I'm going to work on that. It seems like it would have to be an observational thing of some sort.
Well, it also has to do, and this is so anthropomorphic, and I hesitate to say it, but it does kind of have to do with trust. Do you trust those other spiders to get those things done right so that you can focus on your task?
Or it's possible, gosh, this is even weirder, that you could be predisposed to a task. That the spider brood is predisposed. And I'm wondering, I don't know what spider child mortality is like. I don't know what the numbers are on that.
High.
Are they really?
They have, the eggs hatch and there are thousands of little spiderlets.
Okay.
And not that many make it. I mean, a good amount.
I wonder, okay, here's the thing though. Then, so you have 1,000 little spiderlets and you have, say, 10 tasks. So you got 100 to 1 odds on any one of those tasks making it. Chances are you're going to get at least one spider from each of those 100 that are tasked with it to survive and hang out with the colony. If their task that they were pre-programmed with is redundant, maybe those spiders go away. Maybe those ones travel, right? Or maybe they're not nurtured as much. I've already got a couple healthy ones who are going to be good web builders. We're all full of web builders here. If you're a forager, we need the foragers. But if you're a web builder, go elsewhere. Find another colony.
I think you might be taking this a few steps too far.
I am, but that's where we need to go. That's exactly where you go.
I think
because
that's pretty complex. That is
ants
insanely
can be
complex.
predisposed, though. Ants can be predisposed to an activity.
I'm not saying they're not predisposed, but I do think that it's a little less convoluted and complicated than that. I think that as a spider, you have your strengths. I think there's room for all types of tasks in a spider colony, and that if you are familiar with the spiders around and you trust them to do all of the various things that a spider colony needs to do, you'll have more time to do what you're good at. And I think that it doesn't need to get more complicated than that. I think that's complicated enough, even for humans. So, yeah. Anyway, that's spiders working together. Weird social dynamics in spiders. So the last thing I wanted to talk about before we close out the corner, and I hate to kind of end things on a sour note. I shouldn't have ended with this one, but in Zambia, they lifted their ban on safari hunting. It's only been in place 20 months, and can you guess why they lifted the ban on safari hunting? Justin, I bet you can guess.
Because they realized nobody was coming and spending a lot of money to kill animals.
What does it all come down to?
Money.
Money. They lost too much revenue. So they're attempting to keep lions and leopards protected in the area. That's what the government is saying. They're going to continue to protect lions and leopards, but they're raising the ban on everything else. They're lifting the ban on everything else. So they basically just said, we've lost too much revenue, and people are just going to other places to do their safari hunting. So we're all hurting in Zambia as a result. So they need...
They need what? You're not going to tell us? You're just going to make us wait for the answer. Okay, I'm really anticipating what it is that they need. Blair, will you please tell me what it is that they need? I'm still waiting for the answer. I still haven't heard you finish the sentence. You said they need, and then you stopped. Blair, really, this level of anticipation for what you're about to say, it's starting to actually, it's building. I was going to say it's dragging on, and it is dragging on, but now it's building. Now it's actually starting to build to the point where I am extremely curious to figure out how you will end this sentence. Oh, my goodness. And she's gone. Well, all right, well, while we're waiting for Blair... Let's do this. This is an interesting study because they used transcranial magnetic stimulation, basically a little electric current to the brain, on patients who had disorders resulting from stroke, Alzheimer's, and brain-related injury. And what they found was electrostimulation through transcranial magnetic stimulation improved memory. Northwestern study is the first to show TMS improves memory long after treatment. In the past, this light little electric shock to the brain has been used in a limited way to temporarily change brain function to improve performance during a test, making somebody push a button slightly faster while the brain is being stimulated. The study shows that TMS can be used to improve memory for events at least 24 hours after the stimulation is given. So we know the brain is operating with a lot of electrical activity in there. It isn't weird, completely weird to me that, electric stimulation can work. But what is weird to me is how much information resides in the brain, how much memory is in the brain. The fact that you can lose memories is partly a frightening concept. Because being a in the present now creature, all you are is yourself up to this point. And if you have no memory of it, you kind of cease to have a good connection to yourself, which seems very frightening. Alzheimer's to me would be like the most terrifying end to being on the planet. Ending your time on the planet without remembering your past, horrific, right? On the other hand, and just to make sure that you're with me here, Blair, finish this sentence. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz.
Fizz. Oh, what a relief it is.
Okay, why is that in your brain? Are you an Alka-Seltzer user? No, you're not. You don't use this. You saw this commercial as a child so many times that this information is locked away in your brain cells. And the electrical activity, the neurons that are dedicated to this, to maintaining this, to keeping this knowledge of this tagline of this commercial alive, will never go away, it seems, right? It would be nice to selectively, perhaps, forget some stuff. But again, this is interesting. The information, it seems, even those who have this memory loss, the information is still there. Much like the Alka-Seltzer commercial, it persists beyond our conscious minds acknowledging that it's even there. And in areas that were not able to be accessed, where the information couldn't be accessed, I think they were specifically finding the sweet spot somewhere in the hippocampus. Or trying to get as close to the hippocampus as possible.
So are you telling me before an important test, I should lick a 9-volt?
Well, yes. I'm telling you that.
No, TWIS is not suggesting that.
Yes, I'm telling you that. I'm telling you that the higher the level of electricity you apply to your tongue, the better. No, of course not. It's your tongue. It's not your brain. You have to get the 9-volt into as close to the hippocampus as possible.
So I should lick it and then stick it to my head.
So yeah, it's the hippocampus itself isn't directly stimulated by the TMS because it's too deep within the brain for the magnetic fields to penetrate. They identified a superficial brain region, mere centimeter from the surface of the skull, with high connectivity to the hippocampus, and that is what was stimulated, right? So, I mean, sometime in the future, we may have these available to us, and I'm very curious to try it. I'm very curious to see what memories get strengthened or reinforced, and then do they stick around? Are they continually reinforced? Because what this sounds like is actually something more along the lines of even Alzheimer's isn't the loss of the information. It's the loss of the routes of access, and what's being stimulated is an ability to access. Because if you're getting memories restored that were lost due to brain trauma or Alzheimer's or stroke, but they're still there, it means the memory itself isn't there. The brain is still functioning. The brain is still maintaining the information. It's just your ability to access it that's somehow getting discombobulated.
Cool. So, sorry, I was sent away from the internet halfway through my Zambia story. So, shall I finish that?
Bring it. We've been anticipating it this whole time.
So basically just Zambia lifted their ban on safari hunting. They're saying they're still going to protect lions and leopards. Whether or not they'll be able to do that is something else. But yeah, they're saying that they lost too much revenue because people want to come to Africa and they want to
kill
do
stuff.
Safari hunting. They want to kill stuff. So they were losing all of their kind of revenue from those people to other countries, and so they were saying that they just couldn't survive. Or we could just not make that something people do for fun. I don't know. Is that just ridiculous?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. Listen, Blair, here's the thing. I think that the people who are going to far off places to find exotic, interesting animals and kill them, they need that outlet, because I feel like if we don't give them that, they're going to hunt humans. We're next. We've got to be.
But if they hunt humans, they go to jail.
Yeah, but
if
only
they
after
fly
they've
to
hunted
Africa
the
and shoot a
humans.
giraffe.
No, I think it is a bizarre thing. That in this day and age, you could be you can shoot like that. There's this elk hunting thing that happens in Montana or Minnesota or wherever the heck it is. And you go out there and you pay a bunch of money and they take you on horseback, and you're like, wow, they're going out there and they're really doing a hunting experience on horseback. Then you take your high-powered rifle and from 1,000 yards away, you shoot a giant, beautiful elk. First of all, it's an herbivore. It was like eating grass. It's like going out to a field and shooting a cow with a shotgun. It's not hunting. There's nothing primitive or rite of passage or no bragging rights to go along with that. You shot a vegetarian animal, high-powered rifle from a long ways away. Big deal. I don't get it. Well, I don't get it. But some people find enjoyment in killing things.
Okay, so
let them.
Let me for a second just say, I would not hunt animals, but there is a time and a place where hunting is beneficial. So in the United States, we did this thing where we killed all of our large predators. We killed all of the bears, all of the wolves, all of the stuff like that. So now as a result, we have these herbivores, we have deer, we have stuff like that overpopulate. And if we let them overpopulate, they'll have a bang and a boom, and we could lose the deer. So there is something to be said for hunting, going out there, bagging up a couple deer, reducing the population to a manageable size for the resources and the reduced wilderness that we have, and then using that meat for food. So that's one thing. It's another thing to get on a plane, fly to Zambia, and shoot a giraffe so that you can say that you shot a giraffe. That's different.
And really, yeah. And in that scenario, just get a shirt that says I'm a douchebag. It's cheaper and like just as effective.
All right. So anyway,
it's 100% as effective.
I think we agree. These people are not great. So then I just have a couple of headlines, and we do have to get out of here. We're well past the hour. So here's an interesting news flash. Here's, I think, my new segment I'm going to call This Week in Duh. I brought some of this last week, too. This week in Duh, doctors say schools should start later so that children can sleep longer. So the American Academy of Pediatrics issued a strong statement in favor of delaying start times of schools of adolescents, schools for adolescents, to 8:30 a.m. or later. Only 15% of schools meet that requirement in the U.S. All through high school, I can say from my personal experience, I started school at 7:30, all 4 years. I
tended to, all of my high school life, I started around 11.
Is that just when you showed up, or was that when school started?
No, that's the school started. The classes started earlier.
Yeah.
I showed up at 11.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I showed up at 7:30, and things are difficult. They're saying that it affects a lot of things in middle and high schoolers. It bothers the kind of biological changes in sleep associated with puberty. Their lifestyle choices don't really line up with waking up at 6 in the morning. The academic demands are too difficult that early, and it actually negatively affects middle and high school students' ability to obtain sufficient sleep. So I found it very interesting to hear that optimum sleep levels for adolescents is 8.5 to 9.5 hours. I always thought 7 to 8 was the sweet spot, and it's not. It's 8.5 to 9.5 for adolescents. So in order for that to happen, they need to start later in the day. And that can, studies have shown that it improves physical, mental health, safety, and academic performance. So let's start schools later, guys. We don't want kids sleeping through class. We want them learning. And then my very last story is that a recent study that came out in ACS Chemical Neuroscience, scientists reported that serotonin may have very little to do with depression. Mice lacking the ability to make serotonin in their brains did not show depression-like symptoms. So pretty much most of the antidepressants out there, Prozac, stuff like that, attack the idea that you're lacking serotonin, that you're lacking the receptors or you're not making enough serotonin. And so they thought that boosting levels of the signaling molecule solved depression. And that's what most of the antidepressants out there do. But now it looks like 60 to 70% of patients that have these serotonin boosters continue to feel depressed even while on the drugs. And so they looked a little bit closer at serotonin. It looks like it has very little to do with it.
Wow.
So it might be some other stuff. So I think we need to look a little bit closer.
People's lives might actually suck. I mean, that could be could be part of it. Like, actually, yeah, no matter how your brain is doing, you got stuff to deal with that's really a downer.
Well, even saying that clinical depression is still a thing. This isn't saying that clinical depression is not a thing. It's still saying that something needs to be fixed, but it's looking like serotonin may not be it. So more research is needed to figure out exactly what we can do for these people medically, because the serotonin receptors, boosting those is most likely not going to cut it.
Yeah, I don't think what we need to do for these people is necessarily medical at this point. I think what we need to do for these people is prescribe the right literature. I think you can get into some read The Age of Reason, Jean-Paul Sartre. Yeah, like read some really heavy stuff. Read some stuff that's going to give you some internal dialogue and some perspective on what the hard life is. And you know, maybe you'll find that you can relate to a lot of dark, heavy stuff, and trying to survive in a world where everything is awesome, everything is great when you're part of a team might not be your mindset. Maybe you're wired to think about things on a little heavier level, and maybe that's all that needs to be prescribed is some heavy thinking.
So
that
there's
you're
that,
ready and receptive to relate to, and can delve into. Instead of just thinking, no, you need to be cheery and positive and upbeat and ready to go to work with a big smile on your face every morning. There's some people who are like not wired that way and shouldn't be forced into that square peg.
Well, there's definitely that, but I also want to mention that I think there still are people that have chemical deficiencies. They have problems that potentially there is medicine that could solve it, because no matter whether you're a happy person or a sad person, that's not really what the heart of depression is about. And the heart of depression can be quite damaging, as we all know. And I still think that it's worth looking into and figuring out what is going on in that person's brain, what's going on genetically, what's going on chemically, what's going on with their hormones, what's going on, all of that kind of stuff. There's so much still to be learned for us to be able to help these people in the proper way, because giving them receptors for something that they're not deficient in is not going to be so helpful.
I'm prescribing blues albums, existentialist writers, and maybe some French films.
Right.
Roll with it. All
right, Justin, what else do you have? We're running out of time.
Delve into depression. What else is that? I don't know. I don't want to go into this. I'll just read the headline. Self-deceived individuals deceive others better.
Oh.
Isn't that kind of interesting? People who
well, that's if you're a good liar. You're good at lying to yourself as well.
Yeah, right? That's your career liar. You've convinced yourself that you're this whatever you are. You've created your own story for yourself. It's easier for you to manipulate other people. This was very interesting, though. Early stone. It's sort of a postulation on human cognitive and social ability, but they're stating that, contrary to the original beliefs, stone-tipped spears didn't penetrate prey any better than simple wooden tipped spears that were just shaved down to a point. They penetrated just as deeply when you went to go get your mastodon or your wild hog or whatever you were throwing a spear at. But the wound was more substantial. So the creature that you hit was more likely to bleed out and die from its wound if you used the stone tip. And the way that the tips were even created made it look like they were designed to maximize this. So it's just sort of arguing that this is the first piece of technology which really required some sort of mental thought for constructing, because they were, a lot more effort had to go into putting this stone tip onto the edge of a spear.
Cool. Well, to kind of bring it back to animals, as I so often do, talking about different types of claws on different animals, there's different types that deliver different kinds of blows. So if you look at a polar bear claw and a grizzly bear claw, they're very different. The polar bear claw is very, very sharp and very thin. And the grizzly bear claw is quite broad and blunt. And the polar bear claw is really good at dealing a deadly blow because of accuracy and because they can cut deep.
And they need to cut deep because what they're attacking is covered in
blubber. The grizzly bear claw is so blunt that a superficial scratch is a giant gash, and it does not heal, and you bleed out real fast.
What about a panda bear claw?
Panda bear has little stuffed animals on the tips of each claw. So they just kind of poke you.
Felt. The claws are made of felt.
It's just annoying.
They can't even scratch an itch.
It's like cotton balls. All right. Do you have anything else for us? That's it, right?
You know what? I think we've done our fair share of damage to the show without the doctor present. I think we can. We can wheel the. We can hit the levers, flip some switches, and bring the TARDIS of TWIS back home again.
That's right. So shout outs to everyone that donated on Patreon. I do not have access to our donator list.
To every one of you.
Just know that I'm thinking of you. I can't read off all of your names, but I am so thankful for every single one of you. Thank you for donating to us via Patreon. And also thank you to everyone who donated to us via our PayPal link on our website as well. So on next week's show, Kiki will be back, and once again we'll be broadcasting live online at 8 p.m. PST on twis.org/live. You can watch and join our chat room as well, but don't worry if you can't make it. You can find our past episodes at youtube.com/thisweekinscience or twis.org. Also, please don't forget to tell a friend about TWIS and to check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/thisweekinscience.
Thank you, everybody, for enjoying the show. We will be back, like Blair said, again next week. TWIS is also available as a podcast, in case you were not aware. Just Google This Week in Science in your iTunes directory, or if you have a mobile device, you can look for the TWIS for Droid app in Android, or simply TWIS in the Apple Marketplace.
For more information on anything you've heard here today, show notes will be available on our website. What's our website? That's right, it's www.twis.org. Twis.org? Yes, twis.org. You can also make comments and start conversations with the hosts and other listeners there on our website.
Or you can contact us directly. Email Kirsten at thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twisminion@gmail.com, or Blair at blairbaz@twis.org. Just be sure to put TWIS, TWIS, somewhere in the subject line, or your email will be spam filtered into oblivion.
Yahoo!
You can also hit us up on the Twitter, where we are at TWIS Science, at Dr. Kiki, and at Jacksonfly. Oh, and there's one more, at Blair's Menagerie. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you would like us to cover or address, a suggestion for an interview, a haiku that came to you into the night, please let us know.
We'll be back here next week, and we hope you'll join us again for some more great science news.
And if you've learned anything from today's show, remember,
It's all in your head.
I've got the kind of mind that can't get.
I fixed it.
This week in science. This week in science. This week in science. This week in science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth, and I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer, and it shouldn't be news. That what I say may not represent your views, but I've done the calculations and I've got a plan. If you listen to the science, you may just better understand that we're not trying to threaten your philosophy. We're just trying to save the world from jeopardy. Jeopardy. And This Week in Science is coming your way. So everybody listen to everything we say. And if you use our method instead of rolling a die, we may rid the world of toxoplasma gondii. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got a laundry list of items I want to address. From stopping global hunger to dredging Loch Ness. I'm trying to promote more rational thought, and I'll try to answer any question you've got. But how can I ever see the changes I seek when I can only set up shop 1 hour a week? This Week in Science is coming your way. You better just listen to what we say. And if you've learned anything from the words that we've said, then please just remember it's all in your head. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in 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 Science.
science!
Edit point.
Yes, This Week in Science, another episode. What episode are we on?
478. I didn't do a title, so I think I have to redo the intro with a title.
Today's episode was called Living in the Past. I don't know. We did a lot of Animal Corner stuff, and we did a lot of like origin-y kind of things too. I think this episode should be the all Animal Corner, because almost all the stories involved some form of animal.
Okay.
Like,
All right. Hold
all
on.
of them.
All right. All right. I'm gonna do this again. Ready?
Worms, fish,
All right. Shh.
babies, dinosaurs. Okay.
This is TWIS, This Week in Science, episode number 478, recorded on Thursday, August 27th, 2014.
Well, it's actually August 28th.
You're right. Let's do that again.
I mean, you know.
I just read whatever's written in here.
I don't know if it matters.
Okay. Oh, TWIS minions, I'm sure you're loving this. All right, hold on. I'm fixing this.
I mean, it does. You know what? I'm sorry. I did not mean to interrupt. You go ahead.
All right, okay.
You say it the way you want it to be. It's your world. You make whatever you want out of it.
What's that character's name? Trogo? Something like that. What's your character's name?
My character's. What character?
In Jack Feedback, the bad guy. What's his name?
Oh, Fenrir's Skull.
Oh, who am I thinking of? I don't know.
Fenrir's
I got
Skull.
confused.
Flemgo
All right, anyway.
is,
All right, let me do this.
Tony Steele is playing Flemgo.
Flemgo is who I was thinking. All right, so let me do this. All right. This is TWIS, This Week in Science, episode number 478, recorded on Thursday, August 28th, 2014. All life starts with Blair's Animal Corner.
That's kind of long for a title, don't you think? I mean, you got to write it all out, and then it's like, wow. I mean, by the time like you write the title, it's like it won't fit in the title portion of like the iTunes feed.
Okay, all right, let me do one more.
All right.
I'm not good at naming episodes. All right. This is TWIS, This Week in Science, episode number 478, recorded on Thursday, August 28th, 2014. All life starts with science. That works, right?
Well, I mean...
Stop it. It's done. I'm not doing any more.
A science origin story, like science invented life. I mean, that's going too far. That's like the whole alien...
Justin, I'm done with this.
Okay, let's do it over. Let's do it over.
Nope. Done. Done with it. Done.
All right, Identity 4 liked that title. We'll let it roll.
Did you watch the powdered alcohol, Justin?
No, I did get a feed that it was in there, but I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
Yeah, you should watch it.
I haven't had a chance. Does that mean you could powderize alcohol into a little tube and then pour it in water and have a drink right there?
Yep.
I want to try that someday. Well, so now what do we do?
Little bit of an after show, and then I should go.
Okay.
Like,
well, wait, actually, you know, you're at the doctor's house.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that allows us. That doesn't allow anything to happen.
No. Although I can make it rain TWIS patches.
Oh my goodness. Do we have many? Oh, Identity 4 actually liked the first title the best. Not the latest one. There's a delay there. So what was the first one? All life starts at Blair's Animal Corner. I think, yeah, I agree. We'll go with that one. We'll keep that one. Yes. That's the winner.
Blair's Animal Show. No, this is...
Wow, you're really good about convincing people of things.
No, Ben wrote that in the chat room. Blair's Animal Show.
Somebody got...
Identity 4, you got my
Which one was it? Which one did you get Identity 4? Which Blair painting was it?
I'm trying to remember which one. I think I know which one I sent him. I think I sent him the zebra. Identity 4, did I send you the zebra? Delay, taking forever to respond. Yeah, I think a flask would be better than powdered alcohol. Powdered alcohol was kind of a letdown. Sorry, I'm going to lose everyone audially for a second. It's very warm here. Very warm indeed. See if I can tie my hair in a knot.
Okay, Identity 4. There's a reason why I love the zebra painting the most out of all of them. It's because the one little section underneath the zebra that she didn't get the color right.
Are you serious?
Yeah, there's one. I didn't want to tell you about it because I kind of loved the fact that the colorblind girl is doing this amazing, colorful art, but there's one little portion of it under the zebra that is a different color than all the rest of it.
Oh no.
There is, and I love it because it illustrates the colorblindness of the artist. It's beautiful. No, listen. Japanese craftsmen, when they're building a temple, will do everything perfect except for one small element. They'll make it askew or slightly tilted because nothing should be done to perfection. There should always be a little humanity in it, and that's what's there. But that's why, and it's not in any of the others. But that's why the zebra is my favorite. Don't give me a smirky smirk look. No, this is a good thing. This is why
No,
it
it's
has a
not.
special place in my heart.
Ugh.
Identity 4, shut up. It looks fine. I'm not making fun of it. It's my favorite one of the bunch. Identity 4.
Identity 4, you have to, after you frame it, I want you to tweet me a picture of it. I want to see it in a frame. I think there are these tiny pictures. I think they need to be matted and then framed. I don't want to tell you what to do with it, but that's my opinion, is that they would look better in the thick matte. Like maybe 2 or 3 inches of black or gray is what I think would look good, personally. But I don't know anything about colors, so I can't really say.
Twit refugee, is that leaving one thing off, a Muslim thing? It may be, but I know I know they do it in the Japanese temples. I don't know about Muslim things.
Oh boy.
So is that the only one you sent out?
No, I sent 4.
Wow. So, chat room. We got a nice full chat room, but they're being awfully quiet. Is there anything the chat room wants to talk about?
How about how Facebook auto plays videos and it makes me want to smack my computer?
Well, I like that it does. Mine does it automatically with the volume completely off.
Yeah, mine does that too, but still, it's super annoying.
Huh. It's a thing done with Afghan hand-woven carpets. Interesting. I did not know that. Now I do. Wow, look at all these windows I can close because we're not using them anymore. So.
Huh? Ma?
Oh, I just obliterated all my openedy, tabedy, thingities, show note-y things.
It's always kind of satisfying, isn't it? Like, I'm done with this. Done for the week. TWIS complete. Hiya. I really need a standing desk. This is what I've learned. I really need this. I need a standing desk.
You're like all freaking out over there.
This is like totally my energy level. I feel when I sit and I do TWIS, I feel very like low energy. But then when I'm standing and I'm doing TWIS, I feel like totally awesome.
Oh, I don't even need to read this example. people and institutions who are marginal members of high status or well-esteemed groups tend to emphasize their group membership more than those who are squarely entrenched members of the group. That is sort of like why people join a lot of these kinds of groups, is to say politically or socially, I'm a member of this, I'm a member of that. Whereas, yeah, core members, it's just, it's what they do. Although, you know what, I don't know. I think if we ever got Science Island off the ground and could move to the off-grid hippie commune of science-y, not having to pay rentness, I would probably tout my membership in Science Island constantly. Whereas, right, let me see. I got to see this study though. Oh, make a picture from a paradox. Holy cow! There's all sorts of. All right, hang on a second. Entangled photons make a picture from a paradox. Cardboard cutout of a cat imaged by photons that never went through the cutout itself. Physicists have devised a way to take pictures using light that has not interacted with the object being photographed. It seems counterintuitive. This form of imaging uses pairs of photons, twins that are entangled in such a way that the quantum state of one is inexorably linked to the other. While one photon has the potential to travel through the subject of a photo and then be lost, the other goes to a detector, but nonetheless knows about its twin's life and can be used to build up an image. Wow! That is really insane. There is something called the Cheshire Cat experiment, where the properties of a photon and the energy of it can be sort of separated for a moment, and I don't know. Basically, what it comes down to is the universe is not intuitive. Things do not work at all like we imagine them to do in our day-to-day push-pull world. However, we're not likely to encounter entangled selves either. So we're not likely to fall into a quantum reality in our day-to-day lives. But I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure this possibility of entangled. Somebody was telling me about this. I'm going to completely switch directions. Somebody was telling me about this ghost thing. I got this friend who believes in ghosts. Yes, I'm going to first of all tell you, outside of the ghost cat experience that I related on the show, I do not believe in ghosts. I just don't. So apparently, they're like, he's talking about one of these shows, these ghost hunter shows, which every time I've tuned into, they're like, I feel a cold spot. I think something tugged at my leg. It's dark. Ah! And then that's like the show, which I don't really get it. It's like, well, they went to this one hotel, this princess. I gotta find it. Somebody maybe knows the episode. I gotta find the episode, email it to me, whatever, later. There was supposedly a princess that died in this room. And I don't know why dying somewhere makes the ghost live there later. And there's all the other problems, like, okay, if there's a ghost, why isn't it persistent? Why isn't it persistently a ghost? Is it like a raccoon? Is it nocturnal? There's raccoons in your neighborhood, but you never see them because they're nocturnal. All day long, they're curled up in somebody's attic. At night, they go around, they knock over a garbage can, but you never see the raccoon unless you happen to be there late at night, right? Happen to be walking down your street in exorbitantly late night and you see them crossing the street or off in the distance. So is that what ghosts are? Is there ghosts curled up in the attic just hibernating, waiting for people not to be running around? Fine, whatever. Problem with persistency, problem with everything that has to do with ghosts in terms of, well, if it can walk through a wall, why can it close the door? If it makes a sound, that's a physical thing that needs to be done. So is it a matter thing? It's not just a consciousness observation. How could it be detected? Point was, he says in this one episode of one of these ghost hunters, they went to the room where the princess was and were saying, "Are you there? Princess, are you there?" And apparently not live, but on the recording equipment, they heard a voice come back to them that said, "Of course I am. Where are you?" Take this ghost thingy to a different level. Now you have a ghost that's hearing a physical world, perceiving a physical world, finding the physical world to be somewhat unusual. Like, of course I'm here. Where's this sound coming from? You're the weird one, right? The ghost thinking, this is weird. So the immediate thought that came to mind is, this wouldn't be a ghost. Ghosts don't question your reality, right? Ghosts don't question you back. It's like, yeah, I'm here. What are you? Where are you? What are you doing? Where's this sound coming from? The ghost would be, in this scenario, the only thing that I could possibly, in a Doctor Whovian sense of things, be a rip in time and space, right? So here's this poor princess in her hotel room, obviously before she committed suicide there, or however she dies there, and she's hearing voices. "Princess, are you there?" She's just now seen a ghost. So if there is a possibility for the whole timey-wimey space ball of wibbly-wobbly stuff to get discombobulated, then maybe all ghost stories are points in time and space that get somehow slightly entangled. This princess from long ago heard, and actually I think there was a Doctor Who episode almost exactly like this, come to think of it. Yeah, there was, where there was a haunted house and they went and there was somebody stuck in a time vortex-y thing. Gosh, actually, yeah, they totally nailed it. There was a perfect example of this in a Doctor Who episode where a place that's always seemed to be haunted has been haunted because people from the future are trying to constantly, well, this would be the scenario in a haunted house. The reason a place is haunted most likely is from people from the future communicating, looking for this ghost, and talking to people in the past, thus creating the ghost story in the first place. Yeah, it's not so much a Star Trek episode. This is definitely a Doctor Who type episode. So maybe all ghosts, and then there was like another example. It was like, well, there was this other thing where they got this thermal image in Gettysburg of this guy with a backpack, and I'm like, what? What's in the backpack? What ghostly apparational apparatus? Or like, is it a ghost sleeping bag? Is there an ectoplasm thermos in the backpack? What do you care? What does a ghost carry in a backpack? Why is it still wearing clothes of the age in that particular time? I think even somebody in the military might think, like, you know, this isn't how I picture myself. This isn't my, like, why are ghosts dressed in period? Shouldn't ghosts be naked, I guess is what I'm saying. Shouldn't there be more naked ghosts sightings? That doesn't make sense that ghosts would wear clothes. I get the mind-body thing, you know, if you want to say that persists. But also buttons? Why do buttons persist? Why would there be buttons on the jacket of a ghost? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, thank you, Hot Rod. Dr. Hooey. Absolutely. A lot of problems with the ghost thing.
So,
Where'd you go?
we went to check on the cats and get more water, and then I left the water upstairs.
Are the ghosts? Are the ghosts doing okay?
The ghosts?
You know, Kiki's house is haunted. This is how this whole thing started. It's totally a haunted house.
Okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah. Kiki's seen it once. Marshall has seen it twice and felt it grab his leg once.
Oh, stop it. Justin, you're the worst. I'm going to drive to Davis and drag you back here for that conversation and make you stay up all night while I
Not
sleep.
in that house, I won't. Not in that
Get
house.
out
That
of
place
here.
freaks me out.
I was leaving anyway. I don't want cats crawling all over me while I'm sleeping. I'm going to
Yeah.
go sleep at home.
Yeah, there was something I don't know that I've actually ever been there, but they were describing there was a bathtub.
Stop it. Stop.
And
Stop. 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 Justin, stop. 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 There are certain things when you are a habitual house sitter that you don't talk about. And that's one of the things, okay? Stop it, Mr. Mustache, all right?
It's Mr. Mustache to you. Okay. So
I'm texting with someone who wants me to tell you that you're a sexy beast. But you have nothing on him.
And what?
You have nothing on him.
I have nothing on who?
You have to guess the person I was texting with just now.
Wait. You have nothing on me?
No. The person that was texting me.
mustache.
You have nothing on the person that I was texting is what he wants me to say. Here's the
I have nothing on them. They're sexier than me?
Yes. Tell Justin, quote, "You're a sexy beast, but you have nothing on me."
I have nothing.
Meaning they're more attractive than you. That's what he's trying to say.
Oh, you have no idea how attractive I am. See, this is the thing. Gentlemen out there who think your attractiveness has anything to do with what you see in the mirror. It does not. It has no. It has. Well, okay. There's some degree of that. There's a little of that. But I don't care how muscular or mustachioed you are. If you can work a room better, if you can get people to laugh better than I can, if you can be clever, if you have more clever comebacks than I do in a roundtable conversation, I will say you are sexier than me. But until you're more clever or funnier than I am, I don't care. I really don't, because I know what's sexy, and you can stare at yourself in the mirror, make eyes at yourself in the mirror. You can give your best mirror grin. It's completely
Stop.
It's completely powerless against getting somebody to laugh.
There was a Saturday Night Live sketch that in the early 2000s maybe. It's too sexy. No, it's too sexy. Do you remember that one? No? I have to find it now. Okay.
Oh yeah. It's Antonio Banderas. Now I must take off my shirt. No. Too sexy, Antonio.
Oh,
Don't do
you're
it.
right. That's exactly what it was.
Okay. But I must. Yeah. You can even have the sideburns that go with the handlebar mustache, and the little beardy thing at the bottom, and a tattoo that says "Too sexy for this tattoo." You can have all of those things. If you're not funny, you're gonna leave. You're gonna leave the table alone. That's what I'm saying. You're going home alone.
Oh, Bing is the worst. I really don't like Bing. Chris Kattan. How do you say, "Ah, yes"? Show.
How do you say? Ah, yes.
Oh, this video isn't available. Oh, you can't watch it. That sucks.
You have to donate to keep Justin's shirt on.
Oh,
I will provide this free of charge.
too sexy.
Is it? Wait, is it? It's. Oh, okay. It's not. Who's the guy who's?
Chris Kattan.
It's Chris Kattan, but I can't remember the guy who's actually saying "too sexy."
Jimmy Fallon.
No, is it Jimmy?
Horatio Sands.
Huh?
It's Jimmy Fallon and Horatio Sands.
Horatio, that's the one. Horatio is the one I'm picturing. Horatio is the one I'm picturing, with the really big fake mustache and the mariachi guitar.
Yes.
No, don't do it, don't do it, too sexy, don't do it. Did Bing change its name to something stupider?
Did it? I don't think so.
Oh, when they changed the name to Bing. Before it was whatever, Microsoft Search.
I thought it was MSN Search.
Yeah. Before that, you know what it originated as? Originated as Excite. Which was created by a fellow Davisite. And then they sold it to MSN. A group of Stanford non-grads, still Stanford students, created Excite. And it was really weird. I was getting explained what a search engine would look like before there was a search engine. Somebody was explaining to me the Boolean logic that would be involved in this and that, but not this searching of all data. And how amazing it seemed it was going to be. And the fact that he was 24 and had a Porsche 911 that was brand new and could take corners, could take a 90-degree angle at like 74 miles an hour. It's all very impressive. I'm not sure what was more impressive. I think actually the Porsche might have actually been more impressive than the first search engine, but as time went on. Where are you, Ben? What are you doing now? All right, I'll be right back.
No.
Oh, then we should go.
All right. I have to drive home.
Oh,
So.
okay. I've got places to go anyway. I'm going out again, so.
Okay.
We should hook up next week.
Okay. You mean to record Jack feedback?
No, for another episode of This Week in Science.
I guess. Sure. I mean,
Yo,
you know what? Really want
Jack
to.
Feedback, huh? What'd you say?
Nothing.
Jack feedback, I think, is cursed.
This sucks.
Because we had one episode ended up on a crashed hard drive. It's every time I get one recorded, it seems like another hard drive wants to crash on the thing. We go into the studio and record, and when we get the recordings out, there's a mysterious static throughout everything. It's just this whole thing's been cursed. But yes, I do want to get everybody back together. I need to get you and Jeff back to do some more recording, and I don't know when now. The last time I had to take a day off work. Normally I can do this stuff. My normal days off times are like during the week. I don't have weekends off, so timing is tricky. But you guys don't need me next time. If I can figure out how to get the two of you in front of a mic, you don't really need me.
That's not true. You're the director.
I'm just the instigator.
No, you're the director. Okay, I'm going.
And Two wild and crazy guys. Scott is sexier than... Yes, I could totally roll. Especially now that I got this mustache. Now that I got the mustache, Scott, you're right. I could be wild and crazy guy with the hanging out with the American chicas who will be very impressed by my big package.
Say goodnight,
And on that
Justin.
note, let's pick that note. Shall we pick that note to end the show, Blair? Shall that be the note to end
And on that note,
sciencey goodness?
we're going to sign off for This Week in Science. Go ahead and tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. We're going to be talking all about This Week in Science, only it'll be Next Week in Science, but then it'll be This Week in Science. So go ahead and tune in next week for that, but then it'll be this week. I think you all understand.
Fight the future!
All right, guys. Love you all. Goodbye.